I am near 100% sure that AI agents will, in the short term, begin making decisions for us in lots of realms.
Some companies come to you and say, hey, I want that my developers learn how to make applications on Sui.
Yeah.
Do you have like some big companies you can talk about that are...
I mean, you know how this goes, right?
Can you introduce yourself briefly, please?
I'm Christian Thompson. I'm the managing director of the Sui Foundation. Before that, I was the chief information security officer for Mysten Labs. And then before that was one of the chief information security officers at Meta.
Can you explain what Sui is?
Sui is a layer 1 blockchain that is purpose built for scale.
What attracted you to the project?
For me, it's so exciting to just be at the leading edge of what will be the next version of the internet. The convergence of technologies, right? You look at artificial intelligence, you look at robotics, you look at quantum, and you'll get AI on top of blockchain, on top of robotics, on top of these things. Sometimes technologies don't work well independently, but they work much better when they come together. Like butter by itself, you don't want to eat butter by itself. But when you combine it with other things, it becomes quite palatable. I just believe very strongly that if you build good tools for developers and you show real value to business, that the rest sort of works itself out.
Avant de démarrer l'interview, je voulais déjà vous remercier. Vous êtes de plus en plus nombreux à nous écouter et ça nous fait très plaisir. Et si vous voulez nous soutenir, n'hésitez pas à mettre un like, à partager l'interview si vous trouvez qu'elle est intéressante, à vous abonner également à la chaîne Cryptoast, parce que ça nous aide beaucoup. Et vous pouvez également nous écouter sur les plateformes de podcast comme Apple, le podcast, Spotify, Deezer, etc. Donc comme ça, vous pouvez nous écouter sans forcément la vidéo quand vous faites votre sport, quand vous êtes en voiture ou alors quand vous êtes dans les transports. Tous les liens sont dans la description. Merci.
Hey, Christian, glad to have you on the podcast. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
You're welcome. Can you introduce yourself briefly, please?
Sure. I'm Christian Thompson. I'm the managing director of the Sui Foundation. Before that, I was the chief information security officer for Mysten Labs. And then before that was one of the chief information security officers at Meta.
Can you explain what Sui is?
Sure. Sui is a layer 1 blockchain that is purpose built for scale. We are very focused on building an entire ecosystem, a developer platform that allows large industry enterprise to be able to scale into what will be the next version of the internet.
Okay, thank you. And how did the idea of launching Sui come about?
That's a good question. So a lot of us that came over here started some of our journey in Web3 over at Facebook. Facebook at the time had sort of an interesting sort of conundrum, which was that, you know, Facebook, of course, serves, call it 3.5 billion people a day. And there was no way really for Facebook to be able to service that many people with the existing languages that you know, people build in Web3. And so there was an evaluation done. And once we figured out that we had to build our own, then Move was created. And Move was created in large part by one of our co-founders, Sam Blackshear. So we built the NoVDM project at Facebook as a result of Move. And so that's how Sui came to be. Of course, Facebook deprecated that project, and it was taken by 5 co-founders at Mysten Labs to be the core contributor of Sui.
Okay, interesting. And you were named managing director of the Sui Foundation a few months ago. And what attracted you to the project?
I mean, for me, it's so exciting to just be at the leading edge of what will be the next version of the internet. You know, for me, the convergence of technologies, right? You look at artificial intelligence, you look at robotics, you look at quantum, you look at you know, blockchain, you look at all these things, and then the existing Web 2 stack, right? Those technologies will begin to converge. and you'll get AI on top of blockchain, on top of robotics, on top of these things. And it's going to, like, the experiential benefits that we will be able to bring to business, to me, is super fun. I mean, it'll be rich, immersive experiences that you just can't get in Web 2 now.
Okay, and what do you hope to achieve at Sui Foundation?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see the real birth of Web3 in meaningful ways, up into enterprise and institution, and giving like retail the ability to create immersive experiences with their shoppers online in a AR VR setting. I want to be able to own my own assets, right? There are certain things about decentralization that's just super exciting. I'm super excited to just watch, again, that convergence of technologies. I think there's just going to be, the internet always wins. It's so creative, I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Okay. And can you talk a bit more about the Move language and what's the specifications and why is it so important for Sui?
Yeah. Well, Move is particularly built for scale, right? So the reality is it just doesn't fall over. And so there's a lot embedded into Move, and Sui Move in particular, that is object-centric. It is totally programmable. It's very scalable. It's very inexpensive. It's very fast. I mean, we're talking 500 milliseconds, right, to finality. Like, it's very fast, and all that's great. But at the end of the day, like, you look at what's being built on Sui, which is like the most important things, right? We just launched Walrus, which is the first programmable decentralized storage, right? It works hand in hand with Sui. We've got Seal that's recently released. That looks like access control. So you get permissioned access to encrypted data. So you think identity, you think of like medical records, you think of these kinds of things that you may want to give access to somebody to, but only for a period of time, right? So like the idea of building a developer stack is really what Sui is about.
Okay, and this is possible because of Move language. It's one of the possibility given by this language.
For sure, because it's totally scalable, it's very secure, and it's very programmable, very easy to learn.
Yeah.
So you get these real low barriers to entry.
We are going to talk later about the developer onboarding facilitated by the Move language. Okay. Mm-hmm. And what are the next major milestones for Sui?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a bunch, right? So this year for us is about pushing into some areas that are a little new, right? So you'll see us enter into areas of large institution and enterprise. You'll see us push into BTC-Fi, right? You'll see us continue to push into gaming. We just released SuiPlay OX1, which is a gaming console that's Web3 native. We're super excited about. We'll continue to make investments in DeFi. Really what it is we're pulling back the curtains and we're showing people what we can do. I just believe very strongly that if you build good tools for developers and you show real value to business, that the rest sort of works itself out.
Okay, and why BTC-Fi is so important for you? I see Sui is like one of the top blockchain talking about BTC-Fi.
Yeah. Is
it a reason for it? Because you think DeFi is a good way to attract users?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us believe in BTC in particular, right? But the idea that it can be programmable as well, that you can do really interesting things with it ultimately, I mean, that's the reason why Sui exists, is because you can take something that is kind of vanilla and make it really interesting. And so that's the push there with BTC-Fi, is that, the idea you can get into, lending and, other derivatives and things. I mean, it's just, there's an interesting set of possibilities with that.
Okay. And what sets Sui apart of other layer one, like Ethereum, Solana? What the big differences between Sui and these other layers?
Yeah, I mean, really, at the end of the day, we've built this thing for real scale, right? The Web3 is very small today compared to the rest of the economy, right? We've built Sui and the other sort of primitives along with it to be able to accommodate billions of people. So it's something that we talk about all the time with our partners, is that bringing on the next many billions of people. So Sui in particular is totally scalable. It's very fast and will remain so at scale. It's very inexpensive to run. You're talking about small parts of pennies to be able to execute transactions of one kind or another. And it's very fast. And so if you can have all of those things, cheap, fast, and good, it's a very rare thing to have those three things. Usually you're choosing between two, right?
Yes, you're right. And what's the differences between Sui and Aptos, which is another blockchain using Move language? Is there some very big differences?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are a number of projects building on Move, which is great. I think the more people that build in Move, the better. The reality is, though, is the version of Move that we've built to, which is Sui Move, is so much better. It's just versioned up from where it began. And then again, the important part is not just the layer one. It's also this idea that you're coupling storage and you're coupling identity management and you're coupling the ability to do transactions off-chain and verifiable on-chain. So as you see this developer stack growing, I mean, the reality is that this is what you need to really push an economy.
Yes, so you really think that the adoption, the mass adoption, will come with applications and not with layers, blockchains. It will be the applications built on blockchains that will attract people.
For sure. Yeah, it's the creativity of builders and entrepreneurs. Our job is just to put useful tools in their hand. It's a lot like contractors, right? When you look at a contractor and they're at a handsaw, we really feel like we've developed sort of the cordless saw that allows them to move faster, better, cheaper, and far away places. That's where we're at.
Okay, and how do you attract new users to Sui ecosystem? I guess through our applications. And why developers come to build on Sui?
Yeah, I mean, developers are coming more and more in droves because it's really easy to learn Sui, and it's the developer stack. I know I keep going back to that, but it's offering a full suite of tools to which they can actually build to in a way they're accustomed to building. And so it's really intuitive to build on Sui Move.
Okay, and what have you implemented to simplify the user journey on Sui?
Yeah, I mean, this is an area where we're constantly making improvements. We've got an amazing repository of information that allows, developers to access. We've got a number of tools. One of the things that we're doing right now that I'm really proud of is that we're building out boot camps. So we're pushing developers through these boot camps that look like somewhere between 1 and 3 weeks long. And we can do scratch the surface kinds of education, or we can do really deep dives and sort of get them immersed in all of the functionality and sort of how it interplays with each other. That's how we're pushing this going forward. But we feel like we can hold, hundreds or, potentially 1,000 sort of, educations throughout the year.
Si vous appréciez le podcast, mettez un j'aime, commentez, ça nous fait extrêmement plaisir et ça nous soutient. Merci beaucoup. Allez, on reprend.
Because how many developers are already using Move for Facebook applications? There is millions.
I mean, in Web 2, of course, there's millions. The transition of Web 2 developers to Web 3 is still in its infancy. You're talking about thousands, some thousands. But what's clear is that more and more companies in particular are seeing the value propositions that they can bring to their end users by using some of the tool sets in Web3. And because of that, they're asking us to educate their developers on Sui Move And so this is the effort behind Bootcamp.
Okay, so some companies come to you and say, "Hey, I want that my developers learn how to make applications on Sui."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And do you have like some big companies you can talk about that are?
I mean, you know how this goes, right? I mean, we all come from a Fortune 50 company, and so we're very familiar with these people, these leaders, these business leaders. But out of respect for them, of course, we have to keep their own names private and make sure that if
I tried.
No, I appreciate it.
And how did you launch the gaming console? You talked about Sui, and I guess is it to attract like players, gamers, and
listen, this is a great question. I love this question. So, gaming is so exciting. It's super fun, right? And the experiences that you get with your friends, or the ability to interact at different games with different people for different reasons, with different avatars or different tool sets or whatever it is. One of the premises of Web3 is that you get to own all your own things, right? And so the idea behind Sui Play OX1 was this, is that we want to make sure that we are there to support game developers in a way that allows them to monetize things differently, that allows them to interact with their customers in a way that's different, that's more creative. It's like a whole new palette set for artists. And so we're super excited about end users being able to own their own avatars and trade them or sell them or these kinds of things. And so, but at the end of the day, the infrastructure should be obfuscated away, right? And a user shouldn't know that they're interacting with Sui. They should only be having fun on the game and like it because they get to own their own skin or their own weapon set or whatever it is, right? And so we wanted to demonstrate not only that it was possible, but it was very plausible, relatively easy to do, and you could do it in a way that gave something in people's hands that they were familiar with.
Okay, so because there is like some scalability problems with on-chain games. I mean, on-chain games are games that are built on the blockchain. Like every action is a transaction. There is inscription in the blockchain.
Yeah.
Is there some fully on-chain game developed on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of games that are out and being developed that incorporate components of Web3. I think depending on the game and the outcomes they want with a game is sort of how deep they go into that realm. And it's across the whole scale, right? Again, my belief is that the internet is such a creative place that when you give these developers these like tool sets that are really interesting, they just get very creative. It's like giving a painter a palette of colors that becomes something else. It's just amazing.
So you have like a specific program for gamers?
100%.
Yeah. And in which regions Sui is the most popular? And do you have an idea why?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really relates to effort is some part of it, right? So we've put a lot of effort into Asia. So we've
because of gaming, maybe?
Gaming is huge, and then DeFi, of course, in Asia is big. So we've put a lot of effort into Asia, but other areas are burgeoning as well. We've got a huge user base in the United States. We've got a lot of people that are working in the space in sort of the MENA region, more and more South America. I'm a big believer in the African continent and the abilities that, especially in the payment side and commerce, things that are happening there. Europe still has to be cracked, I think, but, the world is the oyster here. I think there's a lot left to do.
And imagine I'm a developer and I want to build on Sui.
Yeah.
Do you have like grants or other specific programs to attract these developers?
Yeah, absolutely. We have grants within the foundation for interesting projects. I think the biggest thing that we can do though is that we can train developers to be proficient inside of Web3. And ultimately, there are more jobs than there are developers in Web3. And so, of course, like the pay within the space is pretty amazing. And so I definitely encourage people to do that. Any developer that wants to build on Sui, we definitely even have scholarships effectively to be able to train them. And then there's a number of ways to actually do the training so that, and in a number of languages in a way that's, quite consumable.
Okay. And so we can maybe join the Discord or read the doc, I guess. Okay. And if you have to recommend 3 applications on Sui, I do not want to. You can answer and say and give us more than 3, or just give 3 examples, because I guess you do not want to put the light specifically on one application. Yeah, I guess. But
I would say it's probably not fair for me to name specific ones, but I will say this. I mean, there are a bunch of really interesting people building in the DeFi space. You can look at, the Navis and the Sui lens of the world, right? On the institutional side, we have a number of very large companies that are sort of, skating to the puck of Web3. We've mentioned some names here that are building, so.
Because one of the biggest application I heard is Walrus.
Yeah, so Walrus is ours. So
okay, is it
Walrus is Mysten's project. And Walrus is programmable, decentralized storage on-chain that works hand in hand with Sui. And so I'm sure you know this. There's a huge failure in storage as it relates to Web3. It takes it from a decentralized, like if you have an NFT on most layer ones, it's linked to some instance of a cloud instance that's totally centralized.
We recently saw this with RTFK, I guess,
exactly.
Nike.
Yeah, exactly. So we've solved that by creating a decentralized storage that, again, is very programmable, that works with Sui. So you have a solution for that with Walrus.
Okay. And you said because there is like some specifications with Sui, with move language and Sui, and that you can, is it like, why is it better than, for example, IPFS? I guess you know it, or there is some differentiations between?
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about Move in particular, or are you talking about
Walrus and IPFS, for example?
Gotcha. Well, again, the Walrus is totally programmable, so you can have it behave. So, like, if we're looking out into the future a bit here, right? It is likely that we'll have AI agents working on our behalf, right? And you want them to be able to work in a way that's like super efficient. Right. And so what you want is smart contract to be able to govern not just your executions on chain, but also things that are tangentially related to it, like storage. So like if you want to be able to do like a monetization thing with a particular NFT or something you own, or some content creator has like a piece of music, right? You want that piece of music to be able to interact, right, with the chain and be able to do so in a way that's programmable. So, so this is the thing that Walrus accomplishes that just no other storage solution offers, is that real scalability and that real programmability.
Okay, understood. And the Sui had like a challenging time with the status problem, the status hack. And how did you respond to that incident? And what lessons did you learn?
Yeah, I'm super proud of the team of how they responded to the CITES incident in particular. Look, it's unfortunate that hacks happen. Fortunately, it did not happen to Sui. This was a CITES incident, of course, that we supported. Our push now is really about further securing the ecosystem, in particular DeFi, in a way that is, smart and scalable. So to that end, we've committed $10 million in incentives to improve the security posture across all of our DeFi ecosystems. And, we will continue to push the threshold of security to make sure we're the safest place to conduct transactions in the world.
Okay. And how do you feel when you receive a message or when you see something like this? I mean, inside your mind, what's happening? Can you describe a bit what's going on when you are like a managing director of Sui Foundation and you see this? What's your fears? Do you fear that the people are going to sell some tokens, or I don't know if the price action is in your mind, or you don't care and you say, I hope this is not a problem on our side and this is from the application?
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate reality is that, like, in the world, there are bad people and there are good people, and some bad people are always going to sometimes take advantage of some vulnerability that exists somewhere. So the first emotion that I have is probably a little bit one of anger, and then it moves quickly to like resolve though. So the team at Sui is the security team in particular, and the engineering prowess behind them, just absolutely remarkable to watch them work. We resolved most of the incident in like a week.
You created a war room.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and then the CISO team, of course, is quite remarkable as well. And the biggest concern that we all had ultimately was for the end users that were the victims of this thing, right? That's the most unfortunate piece of this. And so for us, it was important for all of us collectively to just do the right thing, right? And so that's what the teams were focused on. Is like, how do we just do the right thing here as quickly as we can?
Okay. Yeah, because some funds were frozen.
Yeah.
And some people said, it's against the decentralizations. And what do you say to this? Because I think there was a vote and people said, okay, we want to freeze funds.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I bifurcate out decentralization from inaction. To me, decentralization does not mean that you don't act. It just means that like the infrastructure in particular, how it acts is decentralized. So in this instance, there was a vote by validators to freeze funds. We were not involved in that vote, except for that we, proposed it. But ultimately, it's the validators' decision. They voted to freeze the funds and then ultimately voted to return the funds, right? Again, that's a clear demonstration of decentralization. Now, I think it's important to also talk about this idea of action or inaction. I think it goes back to our conversation of right and wrong. You had a whole group of people that were victimized, right? And you had an opportunity to make some of that right for them. The idea that you can't be decentralized and allow validators and participants in an ecosystem to make a decision and do the right thing at the same time, to me is wrong. Like, clearly we're very decentralized, but also it's nice to sort of be the adult in the room and make a good decision on behalf of people.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, because it happened to Hyperliquid. I don't know if you follow the situation, and there was like a manipulation with some tokens on the platform, and they did quite the same thing than you did to protect the users.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And what does the ideal version of Sui do you see in 5-10 years? How do you imagine the future?
Yeah, I mean, I am sure that we will make this natural transition from Web 2 to Web 3. I am sure that Sui and the primitives associated with it, Walrus, Seal, Nautilus, will scale in a very meaningful way to include very large institution, very large enterprise, government, and then we'll continue to support, native builders, DeFi and gaming and these kinds of things that are also super important to us. What does it ultimately end up looking like? I mean, your guess is as best as mine, probably. But, again, I'm very confident that we'll continue to grow. I mean, our growth has been insane over the last while, and I'm sure it will continue.
You talked about AI agents.
Mm-hmm.
You think it will be a big thing in few years? Because actually, from my side, there is like DeFi that will be here in 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
And what's the gaming, maybe, but we are waiting for a few years that gaming explode on the blockchain.
Yeah.
But AI agents and gaming and DeFi could be really big.
I agree. Yeah.
So you think some AI agents will manage your DeFi account to generate some percentage on your deposits and all over different applications, DeFi applications?
I am near 100% sure that AI agents will, in the short term, begin making decisions for us in lots of realms in our business, whether that's paying bills on our behalf or, helping us drive from one place to another, reminding us that we need our kids picked up from school. I imagine there's going to be a lot of places, including DeFi, where we will have agents that will act on our behalf. Part of that, our thesis is that getting to truth is really important if an agent is to make a decision, right? You want that decision to be made from a source of truth. Blockchain in particular is so suited to be the place of truth because you can measure that provenance from beginning to end. We're super confident that a lot of that will be built on Sui.
Okay. And within or outside crypto, which projects or other company inspire you?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I'm not so sure that it's so much about the companies, but it is the people behind the companies. In this space in particular, there's so many visionaries. I mean, even you guys in particular, right? I mean, the way that you interact with your end users is remarkable. You look at what's happening or what happened in Web 2 early on, and you can point to a number of what are now giants. But their ability to be creative in their own space is just absolutely remarkable. I mean, I came from Meta, right? I mean, candidly, my time at Meta was amazing. It was the people that were there that was the best thing to be around. It's why I'm at where I'm at now. It's because I'm surrounded by people that are doing interesting things for the right reasons. That's the secret sauce to me.
Okay, but do you have some ecosystems? Maybe you look what Hyperliquid is doing because they success to attract people and to create a product first and then a blockchain.
Sure.
What do you have in mind? Other project like this, or how do you do you benchmark other blockchains or other classic companies which success a lot, like PayPal, or do you look at what they did to attract people or something like this?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's really about, you look at some of these people who just push the boundary, right? I mean, you look at modern day stuff, even Uber, right? Or Airbnb, or you look at some of these that were the idea of renting out your own home this was foreign. I think some of the things that are happening in gaming in particular to me are super interesting. I think when you start seeing the sort of Segas of the world, diving into the space, super interesting, right? You look at what Meta did with its Meta glasses, right? And the ability to like interact with people at scale in different ways. AR, VR for me is a huge one because you can now interact in a way, both gaming and otherwise, like shopping as an example with AR, VR, that you couldn't really do before. And so like these kinds of things, these technologies, as they come together and they really interact with each other, that is going to be interesting.
Maybe it was a bit early, I think, about metaverse.
Sure.
But you think in the future metaverse there will be a comeback?
I don't know about metaverse in particular. I'm a big believer that that sometimes technologies don't work well independently, but they work much better when they come together. Like butter by itself, you don't want to eat butter by itself, but when you combine it with other things, it becomes quite palatable, And so like, this is how I think about a lot of those technologies. It is about bringing them together in a way that's really meaningful.
And I have a conviction. In few years, like a lot of companies will be their own bank with stable coins. Do you have like some convictions like this you can share with?
I hadn't thought about that. I'd have to think about that in particular. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
It was a tricky question.
Yeah, maybe.
And the last question I have is, can you share our journey, like your typical journey? What's going on when you manage one of the top foundation in the world, in the crypto world?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm just so blessed to be surrounded by amazing people. Sui and Mysten and now Walrus is populated by some of the finest minds in the whole world. And candidly, I'm just humbled to be a part of that journey. I believe that ultimately we're going to be able to do a lot of good things for a lot of people. I'm particularly passionate about bringing financial services to the unbanked. I'm anxious to sort of work in that space more and more as we grow. I don't like it that 2.5 billion people have no access to financial services. I think it's unacceptable. Yeah. In leading the team, there's just this there's a constant sort of roar inside for the next thing. And it's palpable inside of it, and also super exciting to just watch the creativity of the people.
Okay. And how do you attract these unbanked people? It's through the phone, the smartphone, I guess. So you have to develop a wallet, a mobile wallet, really, really easy to use, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin that cat, right? A lot of it begins with identity. The reality is the way the banking system is currently built is that you have to be able to identify yourself and pass through KYC, know your customer. A lot of people in the world don't have ID, they don't have a social security number. They don't have a driver license. They don't have the birth certificate even. And so you have to get over that hump of identity first. I'm a believer that we'll get there. There's a lot of really interesting people working in this particular space. And I think once we get over that hump and an ability to identify ourselves empirically, that it opens up a whole new world of really interesting things for us to do good.
Okay. So you think like projects like WorldCoin or other are quite good to identify real people, on the blockchain, to detect CBIL or...
Yeah, I think anytime you are building toward at least as this example that we're talking about here of financial services, anytime that you're building toward someone being able to identify themselves and empirically be able to do that is super valuable. Again, there are a lot. I think AI will have a big part of this, actually. I think that we'll get to a place where financial institutions will ultimately trust a decision that's made by AI, probably, around identity. And I think that some of those measures of identity won't be the standard measures that we normally take. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be a government issued ID. It could be a number of other things. I think we're moving in that direction. It'll take time.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. Do you have any subject yet that you want to talk about?
I mean, I'll talk about anything you want to talk about, buddy. You know, I think, you know, we're all here for proof of talk in particular, right? France in particular is a birthplace of so many interesting things, right? The art in particular, right? We're going to be at the Louvre tomorrow. What a repository of like culturally important things. The things that we're working on collectively, all of us, you know, support these meaningful things. And I mean, candidly, I'm super excited to be here, you know. For me, like I'm a foodie. I went to school in Italy, you know, and it's just an amazing experience every time I come to France to just absorb it all. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything is collective. We need to be all together to create great things.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Christian.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye.